The woman my son deserves is watching this. If these words have somehow found their way to your heart, I do not believe it happened by accident. Life has a quiet way of bringing people together long before they ever realize they were walking toward each other. Perhaps you clicked on this out of curiosity. Perhaps you felt something you could not explain. Or perhaps, somewhere deep inside you, your heart has already begun to recognize a story that belongs to both of you. I am only a mother. I have no riches to offer you. I cannot promise a life without storms, nor can I tell you that loving my son will always be easy. But I can offer you something that no one else can. I can tell you who he is when no one is watching. I have watched him grow from a little boy whose tiny fingers wrapped around mine as though I were his entire world, into a man who now carries the weight of other people's pain without ever asking for applause. There are things only a mother sees. There are silent victories no one celebrates, and quiet tears no one notices. Those are the moments that reveal a person's true character. My son has lived most of his life believing that love should be given before it is received. Sometimes that has been his greatest strength. Sometimes it has been the reason his heart has broken. When he was only 6 years old, we were walking home one cold evening. I had bought him a small piece of chocolate after saving enough money to surprise him. Before we had even reached our front door, another little boy stood nearby with empty hands and tired eyes. Without saying a word, my son broke the chocolate exactly in half. He smiled as though he had received twice as much instead of half. That day I realized something beautiful and frightening at the same time. Beautiful because kindness lived naturally inside him. Frightening because the world often mistakes kind hearts for weak ones. As he grew older, very little changed. He was still the first to forgive, still the first to help, still the last person to think about himself. People praised his generosity, but few understood the cost of carrying a heart that always chooses compassion over pride. There were nights when he came home smiling so I would not worry. A mother knows the difference between a joyful smile and a tired one. I would wait until the house became quiet before gently knocking on his bedroom door. "Can I come in?" He always answered the same way. "Always, Mum." Those simple words became our little tradition. I would sit beside him, and for a while neither of us spoke. Sometimes silence carries more love than conversation. Finally, I would ask, "Tell me what happened." He would laugh softly. "How do you always know?" "Because mothers do. We know by the way our children close the front door. We know by the way they place their shoes. We know by the sound of their breathing." He once told me about a woman he loved with everything he had. He spoke about her with gentle eyes and hopeful dreams. He imagined growing old beside her. He imagined introducing her to future children. He imagined ordinary mornings filled with coffee, laughter, and quiet happiness. He never dreamed about expensive things. His dreams were always simple. Simple dreams are often the purest. But not every love story reaches the ending we imagine. One evening, he sat across from me at the kitchen table. His coffee had gone cold. His eyes looked older than they had the week before. "She left," he whispered. Only 2 words, yet they carried enough sorrow to fill an entire lifetime. I wanted to tell him everything would be all right. Instead, I simply reached across the table and held his hand. Sometimes, hope begins with a hand that refuses to let go. After a long silence, he asked me something I will never forget. "Mom, am I too difficult to love?" No mother is ever prepared for a question like that. I looked into the same eyes I had first seen on the day he was born. Eyes that had once searched for butterflies. Eyes that had cried over injured birds. Eyes that still carried kindness despite disappointment. I held his face between my hands. No, I said softly. You are not difficult to love. You have simply been offering forever to people who were only looking for a season. He lowered his head. I watched tears fall that he had tried so hard to hide. Even as a grown man, he still apologized for crying. I'm sorry. I smiled through my own tears. My son, never apologize for having a heart that feels deeply. The world needs more men who cry for the right reasons, not fewer. Healing did not happen overnight. Heartbreak never follows a calendar. Some mornings he looked hopeful. Other mornings, even getting out of bed seemed like climbing a mountain. Still, he kept moving. Not because he was strong every day, but because he refused to let pain make him cruel. That, to me, is real courage. Many people become colder after disappointment. My son became kinder. He learned to understand loneliness because he had lived through it. He learned patience because healing demanded it. He learned compassion because he discovered that everyone carries invisible battles. One afternoon, I found him sitting alone in the backyard. The sun was beginning to disappear behind the trees. He looked peaceful, yet thoughtful. I sat beside him. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then he asked quietly, "Do you think there's someone out there who will truly understand me?" I smiled. I believe there is someone who will never ask you to become someone else. He looked at me with cautious hope. I continued. The woman meant for you will never be impressed by the size of your success as much as the size of your heart. He listened carefully. She won't fall in love with the image the world sees. She will fall in love with the man who helps strangers without telling anyone. The man who stays when everyone else leaves. The man who still believes kindness is worth choosing. He looked toward the sky. I hope she's real. So do I whispered. Years have passed since that conversation. Life continued teaching him lessons neither of us would have chosen. He experienced more goodbyes than welcomes, more waiting than arriving, more questions than answers. Yet somehow he never stopped believing that love should feel safe. Not perfect, safe. If you are the woman my son deserves, I hope you understand what a rare thing that is. You will meet a man who has every reason to build walls, yet still chooses to build bridges. You will meet someone who remembers birthdays, notices small changes in your voice, and quietly carries your worries as though they were his own. He will ask if you arrived home safely. He will notice when you are pretending to be okay. He will never laugh at your fears. He will never compete with your dreams. Instead, he will become the calm place where those dreams can rest. He may not always know the perfect words. Sometimes he becomes quiet when emotions grow too heavy. Please don't mistake his silence for indifference. Often the people who love the deepest struggle the most to explain what they feel. If he sits beside you without speaking, know that his silence is still full of love. If he reaches for your hand during difficult moments, know that he is saying, "You don't have to carry this alone." That is how he has always loved. Not loudly, not dramatically, but faithfully. And faithfulness is one of the rarest forms of love left in this world. If one day he tells you about his past, please don't pity him. Listen gently. Every disappointment shaped the man who will eventually stand beside you. Every heartbreak taught him how precious a loyal heart truly is. Every lonely season prepared him to treasure the woman who finally stays. I often think back to the little boy who shared his chocolate without being asked. In so many ways, he is still that child. Only now he shares his time, his patience, his forgiveness, his strength, his hope. Sometimes I wish I could protect him the way I did when he was young. But mothers eventually learn one of life's hardest lessons. We cannot walk every road beside our children. Eventually, another hand must hold theirs. And when that day comes, I pray it belongs to a woman who understands that the greatest gift my son has to offer is not what he owns, but who he is. There is something I have carried quietly in my heart for many years, and perhaps today is the first time I have found the courage to say it aloud. Every mother reaches a moment when she realizes that her son no longer needs her hand to guide his steps, but he will always need someone who understands the language of his heart. That is why I have been waiting for you. Not because I wanted someone to replace me. No one ever could, and no one ever should. A mother's love and a wife's love were never meant to compete. They were always meant to stand beside each other, protecting the same beautiful soul in different ways. If you are the woman my son deserves, I hope you never feel that you have to earn my approval by being perfect. Please don't. My son has never searched for perfection. He has always searched for peace. He has always longed for a home that could be found in another person's heart. When he was a little boy, thunderstorms frightened him. He would quietly walk into my room, carrying his blanket, trying not to wake me. But mothers always wake. I would lift a blanket, and he would curl beside me without saying a word. The thunder outside never stopped. The rain never became softer. What changed was that he no longer faced the storm alone. Years later, after he became a man, I realized that nothing had really changed. He was still looking for the same feeling. Not someone who could stop life's storms, someone who would simply stay beside him while they passed. That is the kind of love he deserves. Not a love that disappears when life becomes inconvenient. Not a love that keeps score. Not a love that demands he hide the parts of himself that have been hurt. He deserves the kind of love that whispers, "We'll get through this together." I remember another conversation we shared not long ago. We were sitting on the porch watching the sun disappear beyond the horizon. The evening air was quiet, and for a while we simply watched the sky change colors. Then he smiled gently and asked me, "Mum, do you ever worry about me growing older, alone?" I looked at him for a long moment. "I don't worry about you being alone," I answered. "I worry about someone failing to recognize how extraordinary your ordinary kindness really is." He laughed softly. "You always make me sound better than I am." I shook my head. "No, my son. Mothers don't create goodness. We simply recognize it before the rest of the world does." He became quiet again. "I just want someone who chooses me every day." Those words have stayed with me ever since. Not someone who chooses him only when life is exciting. Not someone who chooses him only when success surrounds him. Someone who wakes up every morning and says, "No matter what today brings, I'm still here." Love is built in ordinary moments. It is built while washing dishes together. It is built during long drives where silence feels comfortable instead of awkward. It is built through forgiveness after misunderstandings. It is built by reaching for each other's hands after difficult days. My son understands that. He has never believed that love lives only in grand gestures. He believes it lives in consistency, in loyalty, in showing up. If you become part of his life, you may discover little things about him that make you smile. You will notice that he remembers the smallest details from conversations you thought he had forgotten. He will quietly bring you your favorite drink because he noticed you looked tired. He will walk on the side closest to traffic without even realizing he is doing it. If you are hurting, he will ask, "Do you want advice or do you just want me to listen?" That is who he is. He has learned that listening is one of the purest forms of love. There may also be days when he becomes unusually quiet. Please don't fear those moments. His silence has never been empty. Sometimes he is remembering people he has lost. Sometimes he is carrying burdens he doesn't want anyone else to carry. Sometimes he is simply trying to make sure his pain never becomes someone else's. Sit beside him. Hold his hand. Remind him that strength does not mean carrying everything alone. He may not ask for comfort. Offer it anyway. Because even the strongest hearts grow tired. There is something else I hope you will know. My son has forgiven people who never apologized. Not because they deserved forgiveness, because he refused to let bitterness become his permanent home. That choice cost him more than anyone realizes. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is deciding that yesterday will not steal tomorrow. He learned that lesson through tears, through disappointment, through nights when sleep never came. Yet somehow he emerged softer instead of harder. The world often celebrates powerful people. I have always admired gentle ones. Gentleness requires incredible strength. It takes courage to remain kind after life has given you reasons not to be. That courage lives inside my son. If one day you become his wife, promise me one thing. When he doubts himself, and there will be days when he does, please remind him of the man he truly is. Tell him he is enough. Tell him that his kindness is not weakness. Tell him that his compassion is not something to hide. The world may reward loud voices, but families are built by gentle hearts. There will be seasons when both of you become tired. Marriage is not the absence of struggle. It is the decision to keep choosing each other through every season. Please remember that arguments end. Words remain. Choose your words carefully. Speak to each other with the same tenderness you once used when falling in love. Never let pride become more important than peace. Never let silence become punishment. Never stop saying, "I'm sorry." Never stop saying, "Thank you." Never stop saying, "I'm glad you're here." Those simple sentences save more relationships than dramatic declarations ever will. As for me, I ask for very little. I do not need expensive gifts. I do not need recognition. Seeing my son genuinely smile will always be enough. Do you know what a mother's greatest dream really is? It is not seeing her child become famous. It is not seeing him become wealthy. It is seeing him come home after a long day, open the front door, and feel completely at peace, because the person waiting inside loves him without conditions. That is all I have ever wanted for him. One day, if life blesses you with children of your own, you may finally understand why mothers pray so quietly. Our prayers are rarely about success. They are about protection, about kindness, about healing, about finding people who see the goodness we have watched grow since the very beginning. If that day comes, perhaps you will remember these words. Perhaps you will watch your own little boy share his favorite toy with another child. Perhaps you will wipe tears from his face after his first heartbreak. Perhaps you will whisper the same reassurance I once whispered to mine. You are worthy of love, exactly as you are. Those words have the power to follow a child for an entire lifetime. And now, before I finish, I want to speak directly to you. Yes, you. The woman who may still believe she is unnoticed. The woman who wonders if genuine love still exists. The woman who has been disappointed, misunderstood, or left behind. If you are watching this with tears in your eyes, wondering whether someone like my son could ever choose someone like you, let me tell you something from the deepest place in a mother's heart. He is not searching for perfection. He is searching for honesty. He is not searching for someone who never cries. He is searching for someone whose tears come from a sincere heart. He is not searching for someone who has never been broken. He is searching for someone who learned how to love without allowing pain to destroy her ability to trust. Perhaps both of you have walked through different storms, only to discover that your hearts still believe in sunshine. If that is true, then never be ashamed of your scars. Scars are proof that healing is possible, and healing shared between two faithful hearts becomes something beautiful. So, if by some miracle you truly are the woman my son deserves, I hope you never doubt how deeply you are valued. Not because of what you wear, not because of your achievements, not because the world calls you extraordinary, but because you choose kindness when anger would be easier. Because you choose loyalty when leaving would be simpler. Because you choose love again and again, even after life has tested your heart. Take care of him. Laugh with him. Grow old beside him. Fill ordinary days with extraordinary tenderness. Let your home become the safest place either of you has ever known. And when his hair turns grey and the years have written gentle lines across both of your faces, I hope you still look at each other with the same quiet gratitude that first brought your hearts together. If that day comes, then every prayer I have whispered in the silence of countless nights will have found its answer. Because in the end, the greatest gift I can leave my son is not an inheritance or a collection of possessions. It is the comfort of knowing that after I am gone, someone with a faithful heart will still remind him that he is loved. And if you are that woman, thank you. Thank you for seeing the little boy who shared his chocolate, the young man who carried invisible heartbreak with dignity, and the man who never allowed sorrow to steal his kindness. Thank you for choosing the soul behind the smile. Thank you for loving my son not for the life he can give you, but for the beautiful heart he has spent a lifetime protecting. That is the woman my son deserves. And if you are listening today, perhaps, just perhaps, this message has been waiting for you all along.